Tanabata is a Japanese festival held on July 7th, celebrating the annual reunion of Orihime and Hikoboshi, two star-crossed lovers symbolized by the stars Vega and Altair. According to legend, they are separated by the Milky Way and are only allowed to meet once a year on the seventh day of the seventh month. This festival has its origin in the Chinese Qixi festival, which also commemorates the reunion of these celestial lovers. In Chinese mythology, the story of Niu Lang and Zenu has several versions, with details differing slightly depending on the rendition. Known in Japanese as Hikoboshi and Orihime, the tale revolves around a young cowherd named Niu Liang, who encounters 7 fairy sisters bathing in a lake. Prompted by his mischievous ox, he playfully steals their clothes, leading the sisters to elect Zenu, the youngest and most beautiful, to retrieve them. When Niu Liang sees Zenu undressed, he immediately falls deeply in love with her. They marry and live a happy life together with 2 children. However, their happiness is interrupted when Shi Wangmu, the Queen Mother and Goddess of Heaven, discovers that Zenu, who is a fairy after all, married a mere mortal. The Queen Mother orders 2 heavenly guardians to bring Zenu back to heaven, thus separating the couple. Niu Liang is heartbroken after his wife disappears. His faithful ox, sensing his despair, reveals a way to reunite with her. Niu Liang has to kill the ox and wear its hide. Though it deeply pains him, Niu Liang follows the ox's advice. After donning the hide, he takes his 2 beloved children and ascends to heaven, where he finds Zenu. The reunion angers the Queen Mother. She pulls out her hairpin and scratches a wide river in the sky, forever separating the 2 lovers. This river became known as the Milky Way, which divides the stars Altair and Vega. They are among the brightest stars in the summer sky, making their alignment particularly visible during this season. Zenu sadly sat on one side of the river, while Niu Liang, caring for their 2 children, watched her from afar. However, once a year, all the magpies in the world take pity on them and fly up to heaven, forming a bridge called the Bridge of Magpies. This allows the 2 lovers to be together for a single night on the 7th night of the 7th moon. Like all myths, whether Greek, Japanese, Chinese, Egyptian, or from any other culture, this tale holds a spiritual meaning related to a person's inner world. Lovers, or husband and wife, symbolize yin and yang energy within an individual. Among the many interpretations of yin and yang are the intellect and the heart, flexibility and firmness, or the lower and higher self. The 13th century Taoist Li Daochun said, "There are husband and wife in everybody's body." The 18th century Taoist Liu Yiming said, "Observe how in the world husband and wife meet. When they mate, then they can produce a child. In the cultivation of the Tao, yin and yang meet, and when they mate, they can produce an immortal. When Niu Liang saw Zenu in her natural state, he fell in love with her. In a symbolical context, nudity carries a deeper spiritual meaning. Clothing represents a person's habitual attitudes, opinions, and beliefs, acquired through inspiration or, as is more often the case, through imitation of friends, parents, teachers, and media. When a person seeks enlightenment and gains the tools and knowledge necessary for spiritual awakening, these are symbolized as new clothing, often referred to as the garment of virtue. Maximus the Confessor, a 7th century Christian monk, said, "When the virtues are interwoven in accordance with the intelligence, they form a holy garment for the soul." Nudity represents the state of enlightenment, where a person sheds their mechanical attitudes and opinions, and also no longer requires the garment of virtue. Liu Yiming said, "When the true energy prevails and false energy is transformed, inwardly thoughts do not emerge while external things do not get in. One is naked and clean." Niu Liang, seeing Zenu undressed, symbolizes the mind ruler or lover, witnessing the higher self or beloved in its purest form. Whoever experiences this state within oneself will be profoundly shaken. This miraculous event leaves a lasting impression and a deep desire to return to this state again. This is the true essence of love. The external meaning of the love between a man and a woman is that they consistently think of one another and remember one another throughout their lives. The esoteric meaning, however, is to remember one's inner beloved, to value it above all worldly matters, and to strive to be united with this inner beloved. Abu Sa'id, an 11th century Persian Sufi poet, said, "The less you desire of the world, the more room you will have for the beloved." However, the stronger this striving becomes, the stronger also the internal opposition grows. The Fourth Way teacher, George Gurdjieff, said, "As soon as man awakens for a moment and opens his eyes, all the forces that caused him to fall asleep begin to act upon him with tenfold energy, and he immediately falls asleep again, very often dreaming that he is awake or is awakening." One's lower self vehemently resists the union of the lover and the beloved, because for this union to succeed, the lower self must die, which practically means it has to become passive. The 18th century Moroccan Sufi Ad-Dargawi said, "The whisperer comes between you and your beloved. He makes you forget the beloved's kindness and reminds you of your evil actions." Evil actions do not refer to morally evil actions, but to thoughts that make one forget the beloved. In many fairy tales and myths, an evil witch or magician embodies the darker aspects of human psychology, acting as an obstacle to love, beauty, and enlightenment. This opposing force is essential because overcoming trials and tribulations enables individuals to advance on their path to enlightenment. In this context, Shi Wangmu, the Queen Mother of the West, can be seen as the evil witch of the story who separates the two lovers. In Chinese mythology, the Queen Mother of the West is the head of the Chinese pantheon and tends to the peaches of immortality that grow in her palace gardens. However, she used to be an evil demon before she repented, achieved enlightenment, and became a goddess. From another point of view, she can be seen as creating the separation intentionally to test and strengthen the lovers, knowing that they will lead to a greater personal growth and spiritual development. The theme of the ox and the cowherd is also present in the 10 ox herding pictures from Zen Buddhism. The ox symbolizes man's animal nature. The Kabbalah, a Jewish text, said, man was composed of two natures, the animal or lower self, and the spiritual or higher self, and this because the former is necessary to the development of the latter. In image number 6, the cowherd symbolizes the intellect or mind ruler who has control over the bull, the lower self, making it passive. Esoteric traditions often depict the lower self under control by showing the mind ruler with an animal hide. In the story of Tanabata, the cowherd ascends to heaven by killing his ox and using its hide. The act of killing the ox and wearing its hide symbolizes the replacement of one's normal clothing, representing mechanical, habitual attitudes, with the garment of virtue. This signifies the submission of the lower self, allowing one to ascend to heaven. When the lower self is brought into submission, one can ascend to heaven. Ascending to heaven represents experiencing enlightenment in the present moment. Heaven is not a distant realm, but a state of mind here and now, achieved when one's original spirit awakens, because the lover and the beloved unite within oneself. This image shows the Tibetan yogi Milarepa seated on a bull hide. Except for the head, the bull's hide and Milarepa's body share the same color, symbolizing the body as the lower self and the head as the higher self. The character for hexagram number 49, Revolution, shows an animal hide. Alfred Huang, who studied the characters that are used for the names of the 64 I Ching hexagrams, said, "The ideograph of revolution is a picture of a raw animal skin with the head, body, and tail, stretched out over 3 horizontal lines representing 3 twigs. The 3 twigs symbolize the 3 young lines of hexagram the creative. Cultivating Stillness says, when yin dissipates totally and pure yang dominates, the human becomes an immortal. The animal hide symbolizes the dissipation of the lower self energy and the presence of pure yang energy. Achieving pure yang within oneself represents another aspect of ascending to heaven. Trigram the creative is often translated as heaven, however, the Chinese characters are different. Commenting on hexagram 49 Revolution, Liu Yiming said, "Revolution simply means overthrowing the ignorance of the self to restore illumination. But if one wants to overthrow the ignorance of the self, it is necessary that the self first be understood." In this quote, the self refers to the lower self. After discovering the union of the cowherd and weaving girl in heaven, the Queen Mother separates them once more. However, once a year, magpies come to their aid, forming a bridge that allows them to cross the divide and reunite. Esoteric traditions use birds to symbolize one's thoughts. The Sufi poet Rumi stated, "No man has control over his thoughts. They are like the birds of the air." We do not have control over the thoughts that enter our minds, but we can decide if they are useful or not, and then one can learn how to drop them. When one has spiteful thoughts, one has a choice: to let go of them or to act on them. Choosing to let go requires vigilance. If the guardian of our mind falls asleep, one will not notice their return, and one may spend considerable time engrossed in negative thoughts before realizing it. Lu Dongbin, one of the 8 Chinese immortals, said, "Sweep away miscellaneous thoughts and return to one thought." The characters for one thought are yin yang, used in both Buddhism and Taoism. Yi means one, while Nian can mean thought, feeling, or mindfulness. The character for thought or mindfulness is made up of the characters for now and heart. The 20th century fourth way teacher Uspensky said, "Consciousness is something different from thought. You use thought just to give a push, and then it begins to move in this direction and you become conscious without thought. This thought serves as a reminder that one is asleep and lacks self-awareness. By acting upon this realization and initiating self-awareness, the mythical figures Niu Liang and Zenu are united within oneself." The Sufi poet Attar said, "Out of thousands of birds that set on the journey, only 30 birds of the outer world contemplated the face of God in the inner world. The 30 birds that contemplate the face of God in the inner world represent different versions of the one thought that encourage a return to one's inner beloved. They serve as reminders to cultivate self-awareness and let go of distracting thoughts." The number 7 appears several times in the story. There are 7 fairies, and the reunion of Niu Liang and Zenu is celebrated on the 7th night of the 7th lunar month each year. According to the I Ching, the number 7 stands for return, signifying a return to primordial energy. Hexagram number 24 return from the I Ching says, "Return is developmental. Going out and coming in, there is no ill, returning in 7 days." Liu Yiming said, "In 7 days, the yang fire arises and the yin fire dies out." The meaning of the characters for both Tanabata and Chishi is the evening of the 7th. On the one hand, it means that it takes 7 steps to create the reunion of Niu Liang and Zenu, yin and yang, in oneself. On the other hand, it means that after 7 steps, yin energy, now referring to the lower self, has died out, and the pure yang energy of the higher self is present. 7 refers to 7 steps or stages. The period of days and months or even years is not the issue, since time does not exist, objectively speaking. Internally, one can try to create this union anytime one wants to. The secret of the golden flower says, "Be out of time, when all units of time become like one moment." The myth of Niuliang and Zenu is a wonderful example of how myths contain deep meanings related to the awakening of a higher reality within oneself.